My child, before you hear another word from me, I need you to understand how this message reached you tonight, because it did not arrive by accident. It was not meant to be easy to find. Something worked to keep it from you, to let it slide past your eyes the way 1,000 other things have slid past you this week, without ever touching the deep place that has been quietly aching. Something moved to bury it under the noise of your life, because what I am about to reveal to you is the one thing the darkness has spent your whole life trying to keep you from ever seeing. But you did not scroll past. You stopped. Something in you slowed the very moment your eyes fell on these words. A quiet tug you could not explain, a sense that this one was different. That was not curiosity, my child. That was me. I pulled you here, and that single decision, that quiet act of staying still when everything in your life has trained you to keep moving, is already being written down in heaven as the moment you finally turn toward the truth. I have been waiting your whole life to tell you, and if there is a stillness settling over you right now, my child, a quiet in your chest that was not there a minute ago, I do not want you to explain it away. That stillness is not nothing. That is the part of you that already knows why you are here. Finally being given permission to be still. If you have felt exhausted for reasons you could never quite explain, tired in a way that sleep never seemed to touch, if you have sensed things before they happened and could not tell anyone how you knew, if you have carried a weight that never made sense for the life you were actually living, then stop, my beloved, because this message was made for you and no one else. Most of the people scrolling tonight will never reach these words. You did. That was not chance, my child. That was arranged before you ever pressed play. You have carried so much in silence, my beloved. You have smiled through storms that would have broken most people, and you did it so well that the people around you never even knew there was a storm. You have fought private battles behind closed doors, battles no one else could see, and then you have opened those doors and walked out into the world wearing a face that gave nothing away. You felt, for so long, that nobody truly saw you, that you could bleed in a room full of people and not one of them would notice. But hear me now, my child, because this is the first truth I need you to receive. I saw the nights you cried without making a single sound, muffling it so no one would hear, so no one would worry, so no one would know how close to the edge you really were. I saw the mornings you forced yourself to keep going when your very soul was begging you for rest. I saw every prayer you whispered into the dark, the ones you were so sure had gone unheard, the ones you eventually stopped expecting an answer to. Heaven heard every one of them, my beloved. Heaven heard, and heaven remembers what the world forgot. My child, if something in your chest tightened just now, my child, if a wave of recognition moved through you because you have lived exactly what I just described and never once heard someone name it out loud, then do something with that recognition instead of letting it pass. Type "I am chosen" in the comments. Not as a wish, not as a hope you are reaching for. Type it as the first honest thing your spirit has said out loud in a very long time. Because when you type it, the part of you that has always suspected there was more to you than this finally hears itself speak, and heaven marks that you were awake for this. My child, awake enough to answer when I called your name. My child. Heaven did not just watch what you endured. Heaven recorded it. Do not miss the difference, because it matters more than you know tonight. Every faithful morning you chose to rise when staying down would have been so much easier. Heaven has the record. Every prayer you whispered when your mouth had no strength left to form the words. Heaven wrote it down. Every moment you kept believing when the evidence in front of your eyes was screaming at you to stop. That is documented in a place where nothing true is ever lost. The tears you hid, the exhaustion you never explained, the weight you carried without a name for it. All of it is in the record, and the record does not lie, my beloved. The record does not expire, and the record is about to be answered because heaven does not keep a record in order to forget it. Heaven keeps a record in order to make it right. And here is where I must tell you the thing I brought you here to hear. My child, the thing the noise of your whole life has been working to keep from you. You have no idea who you really are. You have spent years, maybe your entire life, describing yourself with words that were never true. You called it resilience. That strange ability to keep standing when everything said you should have fallen. But it was not resilience, my beloved. It was divine reinforcement. It was me holding up a structure that should have collapsed long ago. You called it intuition. That knowing that arrived before the facts did, that sense about people and situations you could never quite justify. But it was not intuition, my child. It was spiritual discernment, a gift I placed in you before you were born, and what you have always called your own strength. The sheer force of will that dragged you through seasons that should have ended you. That was never your strength at all. That was my hand, my beloved, carrying you through places your own feet could never have stood on their own. So let me tell you now why I kept this hidden, my child, and why I'm revealing it to you on this exact day. For 33 years I sealed your true identity. I am not counting the years on your birth certificate, my beloved, so do not do the arithmetic and decide this is not for you. I am telling you the length of the season I kept you covered, the full measure of a hidden life, the same appointed span in which a purpose can grow in secret before it is ever revealed to the world. There were years, my child, when the greatest callings heaven ever placed on a human life were hidden away in obscurity, growing in silence, unseen and unproven, before the appointed moment came for them to begin. A seed does not announce itself while it is underground. It stays sealed in the dark, in the cold, in the place where no eye can see it, precisely because it is not yet strong enough to survive the light. If I had shown you who you were before you had lived through what would qualify you to carry it, the revelation itself would have destroyed you. You would not have been able to hold it. The weight of it would have crushed a person who had not yet been made strong enough in the hidden place. So I kept it sealed, my beloved, not to withhold it from you, to protect it, and to protect you, until the season of hiddenness had finished its work. Jeremiah 1-5 says, "Before I formed thee in the belly I knew thee, and before thou camest forth out of the womb I sanctified thee." I knew you before you had a face, my child. I set you apart before you drew a single breath. The hiddenness was never proof that I had forgotten you. It was the sacred covering over something I was not finished forming. And why do I lift the seal now, my beloved, on this day and not another? Because the hidden season has done its work. Because you have finally survived the very thing that qualifies you to carry what I am about to give back to you. The fullness of time has come. The seed has rooted deep enough, my beloved, that the light can no longer kill it. It can only make it grow. That is why this message found you today, and not a year ago, when you would not yet have been able to bear it, and not a year from now, when the delay would have cost you what heaven means for you to have. The timing is not random, my child. The timing is me. If the fog that has covered your own life for so long is beginning to lift even a little as I speak, my beloved, if some part of the picture is coming into focus for the first time, then do not let that moment slip past you unmarked. Type "the fog is lifting" in the comments. Say it as a testimony to what is happening in you right now, not as a hope for later. Because when you name the clearing as it comes, my child, you agree with the God who is doing the clearing, and heaven records the moment you stopped stumbling in the dark about your own identity. What I am revealing to you today is only the first layer, my child. There is far more of who you truly are that I will keep unveiling in the words that are still coming, layer after layer, as you become able to receive them. But I can only bring them to you if you tell heaven that this is your home. So follow this voice now, not as a favor to anyone, not as a small courtesy to a channel, but as your own yes to keep receiving what I am still unfolding about you. Turn on the reminder, my beloved, so that the noise of the world cannot carry you off before I have finished telling you who you are. I do not want to reach you once and lose you back into the very noise that kept this hidden from you for so long. Stay, and let me keep speaking. Now hear me, my child, because this next truth will explain years of your life in a single sentence. Your body has been tired because your spirit has been working overtime. All those seasons you could not understand why you were so exhausted, why rest never seemed to reach the bone-deep weariness in you, why you woke up drained even after a full night. It was because your spirit was carrying a labor your body was never told about. Your spirit has been active even when your body was collapsing. You have been fighting unseen battles in your sleep. You have been interceding for people, my child, without ever knowing you were doing it. You have been feeling the pain of others as though it were your own, absorbing what was never yours to carry, protecting people you could not even name and never understood why. You were spiritually awake, my beloved, long before your mind could comprehend the calling that was awakening in you. That is why you feel things before they happen, my beloved. That is why people confide in you without knowing why they trust you so quickly. Why strangers tell you things they have never told anyone. That is why you can walk into a room and feel the entire atmosphere shift the moment you cross the threshold. Why you know when something is wrong before a single word has been spoken. The nights you lay awake feeling something heavy in the atmosphere. Something you could not name. That was not anxiety, my child. That was your spirit picking up spiritual tension the rest of the room could not detect. The sudden, inexplicable need to pray that would rise in you out of nowhere. That was not restlessness. That was your spirit responding to something heaven was showing you, urging you to stand in the gap before you even knew there was a gap. The heaviness that would settle on you for no reason at all. On days when nothing was wrong, that was not weakness, my beloved. And it was never a flaw in you. That was spiritual activity. That was the weight of a real assignment, moving through a person who had not yet been told they were assigned. You have always been different, my child, and I need you to stop apologizing for it, because you are different for one simple reason. You have lived with spiritual awareness since you were a child. You read the room when you were far too young to understand what you were reading. You always knew when someone was not genuine, when a smile did not match what was underneath it, when the words being spoken were not the truth being lived. You sensed danger before it ever appeared, and people called you dramatic or sensitive or too much, when in truth you were simply seeing what they could not. You felt it when someone was hurting, even while they were laughing, even while they were insisting they were fine. That was never a burden the world placed on you by mistake, my beloved. That was the fingerprint of heaven on your life, there from the very beginning. And I want you to look back now, my child, at how early it started, because you have carried the strangeness of it for so long that you forgot it was never strange to me. You were the one who cried at things other children did not notice, who felt the grief in a room before anyone explained there was anything to grieve. You were the one adults leaned toward with their secrets, the one people unburdened themselves to without understanding why they suddenly felt safe. You often felt like you were carrying a weight far too heavy for your years, an old soul in a young life, and you did not know why the world felt so much louder to you than it seemed to feel to everyone else. My beloved, that was not a defect in your wiring. It was a gift that arrived before you had any container to hold it in. I gave it to you early because the assignment on your life was always going to require it. And gifts of that kind are given long before they are ever understood. You were not too much, my child. You were simply early. You were awake in a world that was still asleep, my beloved, and no one had the language to tell you that what you were feeling was holy. If you have spent your whole life being told you were too sensitive, too intense, too much, and you are only now understanding that what they called too much was your spirit doing exactly what I made it to do, then testify to it, my child. Type "that was my spirit" in the comments. Say it over every moment you were made to feel wrong for feeling deeply. Because when you rename your sensitivity as the gift it always was, you take a weapon out of the enemy's hand, and you hand the record of those years back to the God who put the gift there in the first place. Now I must show you something heavier, my child, something that will make sense of the strangest seasons of your life. Not every battle you have fought was ever yours. There were times when a sudden wave of sadness would crash over you that had nothing to do with your own life, when you were doing fine, when nothing had happened, and yet grief would arrive from nowhere. There were times when fear would grip you sharp and specific, and you could not trace it to a single thing in your own circumstances. My beloved, that was not instability. That was your spirit stepping into battles before they ever manifested, sensing warfare that was connected to the people around you, feeling the storm before it reached the shore. I positioned you as a shield, my child. Your very presence in a room, in a family, in a life, blocked attacks that were never even seen by the people they were aimed at. You stood between your family and a destruction that had been passed down through generations, and they never knew that the reason it stopped was standing right there in the room, quietly absorbing what was meant to reach them. The enemy targeted you so relentlessly, my child, not because of anything you had done, but because he understood something the world never did. Removing you would have exposed everyone you were unknowingly covering. So hear this, my beloved, and let it rewrite the entire story of why your life has felt like a battlefield. The enemy did not attack you because of who you were in the natural. He attacked you because of who you are in the spirit. Your prayers disrupt darkness, my beloved. Your presence shifts atmospheres. Your spirit carries an authority that hell is genuinely terrified of. An authority you have been wielding without even knowing you held it. That is why the assaults on your life have felt so out of proportion to the life you were actually living. That is why it has so often felt like more was coming against you than should have been possible. You were never fighting only for yourself, my child. You were fighting for everyone standing behind you, my beloved. And the enemy knew it even when you did not. If some part of you has always known that you were awake to things no one else could see, and you spent years quietly wondering whether something was wrong with you for it, then testify to it now, my child. Type "I was awake all along" in the comments. Say it not as a boast, but as the truth you were never given permission to speak out loud. Because when you witness to what you always sensed, the years of being called dramatic or too sensitive lose their grip on you, and heaven records the moment you finally agreed with what your own spirit had known all along. And there is someone else, my beloved, who needs this exact word tonight and has not found it yet. Someone still living under the names life handed them, still calling their spiritual exhaustion a weakness, still apologizing for feeling too much in a world that wanted them smaller. Someone who has stood as a shield their whole life and never once been told that the weight they carry is holy. They have not heard this yet. No one has ever told them who they really are. If you have room in your heart tonight for someone you may never meet, sow a seed in their name, not as a payment, my child, and never as a transaction. Sow it as an act of love from one hidden warrior to another, who has not yet discovered the strength that has been carrying them all along. Visit the link in the description below, or scan the QR code on screen, and let your seed carry this revelation to the one still living under a false name in the dark. When you cover a stranger's hidden identity with your faith, my beloved, heaven covers yours. Now let me speak to the survival, my child, because you did not merely make it through what you lived, you survived what should have shattered you completely. And I need you to understand what I was doing in the wreckage. The pain that tried to bury you became the very soil where I planted your strength. It did not go to waste, my beloved. It became the ground that grew the deepest roots in you. The betrayal that tried to harden you, that tried to turn your soft heart to stone, became instead the refining fire that purified it, that burned away everything false and left only what was true. The loneliness that tried to isolate you, that convinced you no one was coming and no one understood, became the sacred space where I revealed myself to you more clearly than I ever could have in a crowded room. Every single wound became wisdom. Every tear you cried, my child, watered a seed of breakthrough you could not yet see. Romans 8:28 says, "And we know that all things work together for good to them that love God, to them who are the called according to his purpose." Hear the word called in that promise, my child, you were called. And because you were called, not one thing you suffered was ever idle. It was all working, even the parts that looked to you like pure destruction. Because hear the truth of it, my beloved, hell knew what I had placed inside you. It saw your future before you ever could, and so it attacked your present, relentlessly, desperately, trying to break you before you could awaken to who you were. But I was never merely letting you survive, my child. That was never the plan. Survival was never the ceiling. While the enemy was trying to tear you down, I was rebuilding you from the inside out, brick by brick, in a place too deep for anyone to see, so that the version of you that finally emerged would be stronger than the version that ever could have existed without the fire. Psalm 139:14 says, "I will praise thee, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are thy works." You were not a mistake that barely made it, my beloved. You were a masterwork being assembled in secret, and the assembling is nearly finished. And I want you to understand the strategy of it, my child. Because for years it must have looked to you like heaven was simply absent while your life came apart. It was not. The enemy struck at you the way an enemy strikes only at what he fears, and everything he aimed to destroy. I quietly turned into building material. He sent isolation to convince you that no one was coming, And I used that same isolation to teach you to hear a voice you would have drowned out in a crowd. He sent betrayal to make you believe that trust was foolish. And I used that same betrayal to build a discernment in you that cannot be deceived. He sent exhaustion to make you give up. And I used the very depth of that exhaustion to prove to you that you were being carried, because no natural strength could have brought you this far. Do you see it now, my beloved? Every single thing that was meant to end you became a tool in my hands to form you. The enemy has never once landed a blow that I did not repurpose. He has never taken anything from you that I did not intend to give back, larger in its appointed season. That is why you are still standing, my child. Not because the attacks were small, because the one rebuilding you is greater than the one who came to tear you down. Because you have stayed with me this far, my child, when so much in your life was pulling for your attention, what I am releasing now is specifically for the ones who held on. Not everyone reaches this moment you did, so let me place this next truth directly into your hands. You are not a stranger passing through this place, my beloved. You are one of the ones I gathered here on purpose. If you have not yet made this voice your home, make it your home now, because when I release the next word over your identity, the enemy will try to use the noise of the world to keep it from ever reaching you. Subscribing is you agreeing to stay awake. It is how you keep the door between us open, so that the noise cannot close it again. This is not a favor you are doing for anyone. This is you saying yes to the rest of what I have to show you about who you are. And now, my child, I am able to show you the deepest thing, and I need you to sit very still for it. All those versions of yourself you have lived as, they were never the real you, the guarded you, the one who kept everyone at a careful distance because closeness had cost you too much, the silent you, the one who learned to swallow the truth to keep the peace, the strong but exhausted you, the one who could carry anything except the honest admission of how tired you were, the overthinking you, the one whose mind never stopped running because it had learned that danger came to those who stopped watching, the isolated you, the one who convinced herself she preferred to be alone because being let down had happened one time too many. My beloved, none of those were your true identity. They were temporary versions your spirit stepped into so that you could make it through seasons that were actively trying to break you. They were armor, not identity. They were the shape survival forced you into, and they served their purpose. And I am not ashamed of a single one of them. But that season is over now, my child. It is finished, and it is time for you to meet the real you. And if your shoulders dropped even slightly as I named those survival versions of you, my beloved, if some tension you did not even know you were holding just let go of you, that was your own body agreeing with your spirit that the armor is finally coming off. Type that was not the real me in the comments. Release each of those old versions of yourself as you say it, because when you name them as temporary and not true, you stop defending a self you were never meant to keep. And heaven marks the moment you laid the armor down. You are not the pain you endured, my beloved. You are the purpose I planted inside you before the pain ever arrived. You are not the wounds that people left on you. You are the healing I promised over your life. The healing that was always going to come. You are not the rejection that scarred you, the doors that closed, the people who chose others over you. You are the acceptance of heaven that has covered you every single day since before you were born. 1 Peter 2:9 says, "But ye are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, an holy nation, a peculiar people." Hear the vocabulary of heaven in that verse, my child, because it is the language I have always used for you, even when you could not hear it. You have spent years labeling yourself with the names that life handed you: broken, alone, not enough, too much, unseen, used, forgotten. You wore those names like they were the truth about you, like they were written into your very being. But heaven has never once called you by a single one of them. Heaven has a completely different vocabulary for you, my beloved chosen. Anointed, protected, set apart, redeemed, strengthened, appointed. Those are your names, my child. Those have always been your names. Isaiah 43:1 says, "Fear not, for I have redeemed thee. I have called thee by thy name. Thou art mine. I have called you by your name, my child. Not the name life gave you, the name I gave you before the foundation of the world. This is yours now, my beloved, not a hope you are still reaching for, but a name you have carried since before you were born. Type "I know who I am" now in the comments. Claim it as ownership, not as a question you are asking, because the moment you say that you know who you are, something in your spirit stops asking the world for permission to be the very thing heaven already made you. And now I must turn and speak with a different weight in my voice. My beloved, because there is an accounting that has to be named, and it cannot be named in the same tender tone I have used until now. There were people who looked at you and saw only the temporary version. They saw the one who walked with a limp through certain seasons, the one who carried visible wounds, the one who stayed quiet to avoid a conflict she did not have the strength for, the one who dimmed her own light so that the people around her would stay comfortable. And they judged what they saw. They called you broken. They called you too much. And in the same breath, from the same mouths, they called you not enough. They called you weak for the very tenderness that was your greatest strength. They looked at the chapter I was in the middle of healing, and they mistook it for the whole story I was writing. They saw your scars, and they never once saw your calling. And behind it all stood the enemy himself, who attacked your present so viciously for one reason only. He feared your future. He saw who you were becoming, and he tried to bury it before it could rise. Hear the accounting now, in the authority of the one who kept every record. Heaven wrote down every false name that was ever spoken over you. Every one the dismissive word said in passing that lodged in you for years, the label placed on you by someone who never bothered to look deeper. The judgment handed down by people who had no authority to judge and no eyes to see what they were judging. None of it went unrecorded, and the very identity they tried to bury is about to rise up out of the ground and testify. The ones who mocked your light are going to watch it become so undeniable that there will be nothing left for them to say. Genesis 50:20 says it plainly, and I say it now over everything that was done to you. But as for you, ye thought evil against me, but God meant it unto good. What they meant for evil, my child, I meant for good, and I have the authority to convert every last piece of it. And Isaiah 54:17 seals it. No weapon that is formed against thee shall prosper, and every tongue that shall rise against thee in judgment thou shalt condemn. This is the heritage of the servants of the Lord, and their righteousness is of me. The weapons were formed. I will not pretend they were not. They were aimed at the truth of who you are, fired in the dark while you were not looking, but they shall not prosper. They shall not have the final word over your identity. This is not your revenge, my child. You do not lift a finger. This is heaven setting the record straight. You stay in your peace while I settle the account. If your spirit agrees with the verdict I have just spoken, then say so, my child. Type "let it turn to testimony" in the comments. Agree that every false name is about to become the very evidence of my faithfulness, that the pit they threw you into is about to become the platform they cannot deny. Because when you type it, you step out of the fight entirely, and you let the record show that you stood with heaven and not with bitterness. And now, in the strength of what has just been settled, sow a seed as a declaration, my beloved. Not because you owe anything, and never as a payment. Sow it as a declaration with your whole spirit that you accept your true identity, that you receive the name heaven has always called you, and that you release every false name that was ever spoken over you into my hands to deal with as I see fit. Let it be an act of faith, not a transaction. Let it be a planted yes that says, I am who God says I am, and I lay down every other name at his feet. Visit the link in the description below, or scan the QR code on screen, and let your seed be the outward sign of the inward moment you finally stopped answering to a name that was never yours. When you release the false into my hands, my child, I fill the empty place with the true. Now let me show you what I am doing in you right now, in this very season, my beloved. I am lifting every false identity off of you, one by one, like garments that were never yours to wear. The anger that was never really you, that you picked up in a season when you had to defend yourself, and no one else would. The numbness you wrapped around yourself when feeling everything became too much to bear. The distrust you learned because trust had been broken so many times that keeping it felt like foolishness. The fear that became your constant companion because for so long, danger really was always near. My child, those were never your identity. They were reactions. They were temporary armor you strapped on in seasons when you did not feel protected, when you had to become your own defender because it seemed No one else would stand for you. And now, my beloved, I am gently unbuckling that armor. I am not leaving you exposed. I am restoring the heart that was always there underneath it. The tender, alive, unguarded heart that the armor was covering all along. This is a divine season, my child, a season in which I am pulling back every single layer that life forced over your true identity. Understand what this is and what it is not. This is not about you becoming someone new, someone you have never been. This is about you remembering someone ancient, someone I designed before time itself began, someone who has been buried under years of survival, waiting for a voice she trusted enough to call her back into the light. That is why you have felt so shifted lately, my beloved. Why you have lost your tolerance for drama and shallow connection. Why conversations that used to feel normal now feel unbearable. Why you find yourself craving peace and depth and stillness in a way you never did before. That is not you becoming cold or antisocial or difficult. That is the real you resurfacing after years underwater. What is happening to you is not loss, my child. It is pruning, and the vine is pruned only where it is meant to bear more fruit. It is not isolation. It is preparation. It is not emptiness. It is repositioning, the clearing of space for what I am about to bring. If you can feel the weight that you have carried for so long beginning to break off of your spirit even now, as I speak, then declare it. My beloved, type the weight is breaking off in the comments. Say it as something that is happening, not something you are asking for, because when you declare the breaking as it happens, you agree with the hand that is doing the breaking, and heaven records the moment you stopped carrying what was never yours to hold. And now let me tell you what is awakening in you, my child, because gifts you never even knew were there are coming to the surface. A clarity you have not had in years, a sudden ability to see clearly what used to be a fog, a spiritual authority you are going to feel rising in you, a weight to your prayers you did not have before, an intuition so sharpened that you will know things with a certainty that surprises even you, a peace that deepens no matter what is happening around you, an unshakable stillness at your center, an increasing sensitivity to my spirit, a nearness to my voice that grows clearer by the day. These are not new things I am adding to you, my beloved. These are the things that were sealed inside you all along, rising now that the season of hiddenness is complete. The clarity was always there, buried under the noise of survival. The authority was always there, waiting under the exhaustion. The gifts did not appear tonight, my child. They were unsealed tonight. What was locked in the dark for the whole length of your hidden years is finally being handed back to the one it always belonged to. And as these gifts awaken, my beloved, the outer world is going to begin to move in response. Doors are going to open that you never even knocked on. Opportunities are going to find you that you did not chase, did not apply for, did not manufacture. People are going to be drawn to the light in you without understanding why they feel so safe in your presence, why they trust you, why they want to be near you. That is the anointing that was hidden becoming visible. That is the sealed thing, unsealed, my beloved. And hear this promise, my child, and hold it close, because I know how much you have watched slip away. What has felt delayed in your life is not denied. It was never denied. It was only held, sealed in the dark like everything else, until the appointed time. So watch now, my beloved. Watch for a door you thought was permanently closed to crack open again, not by your striving, not by your effort, but by a timing only heaven could have arranged. Watch for a message, a call, an opportunity that arrives exactly when you needed it and not one moment before. Watch for unexpected rest, my child, real rest. After years of carrying more than your fair share of the load, what was taken from you in silence is going to be returned to you, my child. And what the enemy used to try to silence you, the very wounds, the very seasons he meant to bury you with, are going to become the testimony that speaks the loudest of all. In the days ahead, my beloved, I am going to show you what these gifts I have just named are actually for. The assignment they have been awakening you toward this entire time, the purpose that all of this hiddenness was preparing you to carry. But I cannot bring that word to the one who wandered back into the noise. So follow this voice and turn on the reminder not as a favor to anyone, but as your own yes to keep walking into the rest of who you are. Let it be your agreement to stay awake through the whole revealing, so that the next chapter of your awakening finds you the very moment I release it. Seal your place among the chosen ones who stayed. My child, the ones who did not drift off before the fullness of the revelation came. There is so much more, and it is already being prepared for you, my beloved. Hear me now, because I love you enough to warn you about what is coming. In the next 48 hours, something is going to test what you decided here tonight. The old survival identity is going to try to pull you back. The false names are going to get loud again, louder than they have been in a while, because they can feel that you are about to stop answering to them. You may feel the sudden urge to shrink back down to the size the world was comfortable with, to pick the armor back up, to explain away everything you received tonight as just a feeling, just a video, nothing real. My child, when that happens, do not be afraid of it, and do not mistake what it is. That pull is not proof that this was wrong. It is the old armor resisting your awakening. It is the false self fighting for its life because it can feel that its time is ending. The enemy does not fight to keep you in a lie that does not matter. He fights hardest against the truth that is about to set you free. So when the heaviness tries to return, when the old names try to speak, do not read it as a sign that none of this was real. Read it as confirmation that all of it was. Feel the pull, my beloved, and step forward into your true identity anyway. And I want you to know why you were able to receive all of this tonight, my child, when so many would have scrolled right past it. Because you did not skip this message. Because you stayed still when stillness is the hardest thing in a world built to keep you moving. Because you chose to remain when everything around you was pulling at your attention. Heaven has held something in reserve specifically for the ones who stay to the very end, and you are one of them. What comes next in your days was prepared for you, but it required this moment. It required you to stop and stay and receive the truth about who you are that would let everything else finally come. And you did, so it will. If you have stayed with me through all of this, my beloved, then receive now with your own mouth the thing heaven has been keeping for you. Type "I receive my true name" in the comments, and if there is a warmth gathering in your chest right now, a quiet loosening of something that has been clenched tight for years, do not talk yourself out of it. That is not nothing, my child. That is recognition. That is your true self finally hearing itself called by the right name. My beloved, when you type those words, you are receiving with your own voice the identity heaven has been holding for you since before you were born. So come close now, my beloved, and let me pray this over you the way a father prays over a child he is finally free to reveal. I thank you, Father, for this one in front of me tonight. For every night they cried without a sound. For every morning they rose when rest was all they wanted. For every prayer they thought had vanished, which was heard and kept and never once lost. And now, my daughter, receive what heaven declares over your life. I speak every hidden strength in you rising to the surface. I speak the weight breaking off your spirit, all of it, the weight that was never yours. I speak every generational burden lifted off your shoulders, the cycles that have followed your family for generations, stopping here, stopping with you, going no further. I speak every blessing that has your name written on it, finding you effortlessly now, no longer delayed, no longer blocked, no longer held in the dark. You are not who they said you were, my child. You never were. You are who I say you are, chosen, anointed, set apart from the very beginning. Walk out of this hidden season, my beloved, into the identity that was always yours. The seal is broken, my child. The revealing has begun. Type "I am who God says I am" in the comments. Declare it as something already settled, already true, already done, not something you are still trying to believe. Because when you type it, you are signing your name to the truth heaven has spoken over you tonight, and the record will show that on this day you finally stopped answering to every name but the one I gave you. Chosen one. If this word reached the deep place in you tonight, then there is one specific person who came to your mind while I was speaking. Someone you know is still fighting alone in the dark, still living under a false name, still calling their exhaustion a weakness and their sensitivity a flaw. And there is the awakening that is still unfolding in you, the identity that is only beginning to be revealed. Before you go, I want to invite you to sow a seed over both of those things at once, not as a payment and never as a transaction, but as an act of faith for the one still waiting to discover who they are, and for the sacred work heaven is still doing inside of you. Visit the link in the description below, or scan the QR code on screen and sow a seed over the awakening, and may the God who knew you before you were formed, who hid your true identity in the dark, only until it was strong enough to survive the light, who called you by your name when the whole world was calling you by the wrong one, finish the revealing he has begun in you. May every false name fall silent. May every hidden gift rise. May the weight break, the cycles end, and the blessings with your name on them find you at last. The seal is broken now, my beloved. The hidden season is over. Rise and be who you have always been. Be blessed.